He rushed into the fire to save her. Not knowing she was of royal blood, Kai wiped the sweat from his forehead as sparks flew from the broken conduit in the city's central energy hub. The colony had been expanding quickly, and the infrastructure was struggling to keep up. As one of the few skilled technicians on the hub, Kai was used to long hours and the constant hum of machinery. Today, however, something felt off. A strange vibration ran through the floor, a deep thrumming that made him pause and glance around. The air smelled of ozone and dust, and the low hum of the power grid was fluctuating unnaturally. He knelt by the main energy panel, tools in hand, carefully checking the circuits. The warning lights were blinking faster now, and the hum had grown louder. Kai took a deep breath and adjusted a panel, his hands steady despite the rising tension. He had faced dangerous situations before, but the sense of unease today was different. There was an urgency in the vibrations, as if the building itself was trying to warn him. Without warning, a loud explosion shook the hub. Dust and smoke filled the air, making it hard to see. Sparks flew across the room, and the smell of burning metal filled Kai's nostrils. His heart raced, but there was no time to panic. Somewhere in the chaos, he heard a faint, desperate cry for help. "Kai, over here!" The voice was weak, panicked, yet clear through the thick smoke. Kai's instincts took over. Without thinking, he sprinted toward the sound, dodging falling debris and dodging sparks that flew dangerously close. His boots slipped slightly on the polished floor, but he kept moving, his eyes scanning the clouded air for the source. Then he saw her, a young woman trapped under a fallen beam. She was unconscious, her hair matted with dust, her uniform torn in places from the debris. "Kai, hang on, I'm coming," he shouted to himself, more to keep his own courage steady than for her to hear. He dropped to his knees and began lifting the beam. It was heavy, but he had no choice. He pushed with all his strength, sweat pouring down his face. The beam shifted slightly, and the woman's eyes fluttered open. Her gaze met his, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. She was calm, her face composed despite the chaos around them. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, and there was something in her posture, a grace, a quiet confidence, that made Kai hesitate. She was clearly not like anyone he had seen in the colony before. "Are you okay?" he asked, finally managing to move the beam enough for her to sit up. She coughed softly, nodding, but did not speak immediately. Her hands rested delicately on her knees, and she looked around the hub as if taking stock of the damage, but her gaze returned to Kai. "Thank you," she said finally, her voice calm and steady. There was a subtle accent to her words, refined and precise, which made Kai notice her further. You were trapped. I had to get you out," he replied, brushing dust from his clothes. "I didn't think, I just acted." He realized how ordinary his words sounded compared to her composed demeanor. She gave a small smile. "You acted bravely. Many would have waited." Her words carried no arrogance, only observation, and Kai found himself slightly embarrassed that he had even hesitated for a moment in his own mind. Around them, citizens had begun to gather outside the hub. Some were shouting instructions, others were helping to clear debris. There was awe in their eyes, as if they were watching more than just a rescue. They were seeing a human act of courage in the face of chaos. Yet no one seemed to recognize who the woman was. She was a stranger, and the rumors that Kai had heard from passers-by about her being important or someone special were vague, unclear, and fleeting. Kai extended his hand to help her fully to her feet. She took it gracefully, rising without complaint. Her movements were precise, almost practiced, as if she had been trained to handle herself in difficult situations. Kai noticed the way she scanned the hub again, assessing the damage, but her attention always returned to him. "You saved my life," she said quietly, not looking around this time. "I owe you more than I can express." Kai shrugged, trying to hide the warmth rising in his chest. I couldn't just leave you there." "No one deserves that." He realized how simple his words sounded compared to the weight of the situation, but he meant them. She nodded, her calm eyes meeting his. "I see that. And that is why I trust you already." Her voice was soft, but there was an authority behind it, a certainty that made Kai curious. He wanted to ask who she really was, but somehow it didn't feel like the right moment. "Come with me," he said finally. "We should get you somewhere safe. You might need medical attention." She followed him without hesitation. As they moved through the smoke and debris, Kai couldn't help but glance at her again. There was an aura about her, something beyond ordinary yet not unapproachable. She moved with grace, yet she was careful, thoughtful, and observant of her surroundings. Every now and then, she would pause, her eyes scanning for danger or instability in the hub. Kai realized that this was someone who had been trained, someone who knew how to handle themselves even in unpredictable situations. They reached a safer part of the hub, away from the sparks and smoke. Kai guided her to a bench and sat her down, pulling his toolkit with him. He inspected her for injuries, though none were serious. Her uniform was torn in places and her arms had minor scrapes, but she was otherwise unharmed. "You seem calm," Kai remarked. "Most people would be panicking after all that." She smiled faintly. "Panic rarely helps. Observing, understanding, and acting calmly, that is what matters." Her words were deliberate, and Kai realized that she was not only intelligent but had a mind trained to assess situations without fear. "I guess that makes sense," he replied. I don't always think calmly, but I try." He smiled awkwardly, feeling self-conscious under her steady gaze. They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of machinery still in the background, dust settling around them. Kai felt a strange sense of connection to this woman, even though he had just met her. There was something magnetic about her presence, quiet but undeniable. Finally, she spoke again. "I should tell you something, though it might surprise you." She hesitated for a fraction of a second, then continued. "I am not from here. I come from a distant world, and my life is different from what you know." Kai blinked. "Different how?" He tried not to show how startled he was, but curiosity burned in him. She smiled faintly. "I have responsibilities, duties that most humans on this colony would not understand. For now, though, I am just like anyone else here. I only wish to learn and see the world as it is." Kai nodded slowly. "I see. Well, I don't know much about distant worlds, but I know people, and I know bravery. You handled yourself well back there, even while trapped." Her eyes softened. "And you acted without hesitation to save a stranger. That is something rare. It shows courage and something more, humanity, kindness, and a willingness to help." Kai felt a warmth in his chest. He had never thought of his actions in such a way. He had simply reacted, without thought for glory or reward. Yet her words made him realize that sometimes the simplest acts could carry more meaning than he imagined. Around them, the hub was slowly being restored to order. Citizens moved carefully among the debris, clearing the damage, while emergency drones hovered overhead, assessing structural safety. The sounds of repair filled the air, a steady, rhythmic reminder that life continued even after unexpected danger. "You've changed my view of humans already," she said softly, watching the activity around them. "I thought I knew courage, but today I saw it firsthand in a simple act, and it matters more than I expected." Kai smiled, brushing dust from his hair. "Well, I guess we humans have our moments." He laughed lightly, feeling more at ease in her presence. "Even ordinary people can do extraordinary things sometimes." She nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "Yes. And it is these moments that define who we are, far more than titles or status." Kai looked at her, curious about her careful choice of words. There was an elegance in the way she spoke, a deliberate precision. Yet she did not flaunt it or use it to impress. It was simply part of who she was. "Do you want to stay here for a while, recover, or would you prefer somewhere quieter?" Kai asked. She considered the question. "Somewhere quieter, yes. I would like to see life as it is, away from chaos, at least for a short time." Kai nodded. "I can take you to a safe place. My home isn't much, but it's peaceful and no one bothers me there." Her eyes brightened faintly. "I would like that, thank you, Kai." He felt a jolt at the sound of his name on her lips. He realized that he had forgotten to ask even the simplest questions about her identity, yet somehow it didn't feel urgent. Right now, what mattered was that she was safe, and he could see the faint spark of trust in her eyes. As they left the hub together, moving carefully through the still-smoking corridors, Kai felt a strange mix of excitement and responsibility. He did not know who she truly was, nor the weight of her hidden life, but he knew one thing: he would protect her even if he did not fully understand why. Outside, the colony stretched under the soft glow of twin suns. The sky was tinged with orange and violet, and the air carried the faint scent of new growth and energy from the distant reactors. Citizens moved about in calm efficiency, tending to their daily lives, unaware of the small but profound moment that had just occurred within the hub. Kai glanced at the woman walking beside him. She carried herself with quiet grace, yet there was an unmistakable curiosity in her eyes. She was observing the world around her with careful attention, taking in every detail, yet her focus always returned to him. "Do you often rush into dangerous situations for strangers?" she asked suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence. Kai chuckled softly. "Not always, but sometimes it just feels like the right thing to do. I don't think about it too much." She smiled faintly, a shadow of amusement in her eyes. A rare trait, many think of safety, rules, or duty first. Few act solely on instinct and compassion. Kai shrugged modestly. "Maybe that's what makes humans interesting," she nodded thoughtfully. "Indeed." "You are interesting, Kai. I have much to learn from you, it seems." He glanced at her, feeling the weight of her words, yet sensing a warmth behind them. "And I from you," he replied quietly. "I don't know who you really are or where you come from, but I want to help however I can." She looked up at him, her calm eyes meeting his, and for a moment the distance between their worlds seemed to disappear. In that fleeting connection, both understood something vital. Courage, kindness, and trust were universal, no matter who or what one was. And for Kai, that realization was the beginning of a journey far greater than he could imagine. A journey that would test not just his bravery, but the depth of his heart and the power of humanity itself. Kai led her through the quiet streets of the colony, careful to avoid the areas still recovering from the hub explosion. Smoke lingered in pockets of the air, but the damage had been mostly controlled, and repair crews moved with steady efficiency. The streets were bustling with life, yet there was a sense of calm, as if the colony itself was resilient to small disasters, bouncing back without fear or complaint. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice soft but curious. She walked beside him with effortless grace, her eyes scanning the environment but always returning to him. Kai could see that she was paying attention to everything, the way the streetlights hummed with energy, the motion of the drones overhead, the gentle sway of the colonists' uniforms as they worked. "Somewhere safe," Kai replied. "It's not much, but it's quiet and you can rest. You might need some time after today." He glanced at her, noticing how even her calm composure was slightly tinged with fatigue. She nodded, accepting his words without question. "I would like that. You've already helped me more than I expected. I owe you something." Kai shook his head. "No one owes anyone for helping someone in need. That's just what people do." He smiled faintly, though his heart thumped with a strange, unfamiliar warmth. "But I'll admit it feels good to know someone appreciates it." She tilted her head slightly, considering him. "There is something honest about you. You do not act for recognition or reward, yet your actions carry weight. It is rare." Kai chuckled softly. "I guess I'm just ordinary then. Ordinary people do extraordinary things sometimes." As they walked, he explained how his home was small, a modest apartment above a maintenance bay, quiet and far from the center of the colony's social life. She listened attentively, asking small questions about the city, its people, and its systems. Her curiosity was genuine, not intrusive, and Kai found himself enjoying the conversation more than he expected. When they reached the building, Kai unlocked the door and gestured for her to enter first. "This isn't much, but it's clean and quiet. You can rest and I can make something to eat if you like." She stepped inside, her eyes scanning the modest furnishings with careful attention. "It is very peaceful. Thank you for offering it to me." She paused, her gaze meeting his. "You have shown me kindness in a way that few have. That is meaningful." Kai felt his chest tighten slightly at her words. I'm glad you feel that way. Honestly, it means a lot coming from you." He hesitated, realizing he still did not know much about her. He had seen her courage, her composure, and her intelligence, yet her past, her life remained a mystery. She seemed to sense his thoughts. "There is a reason I do not reveal everything about myself," she said softly. "It is not because I wish to deceive, but because my life is complicated. My presence here is temporary, and I must remain cautious." Kai nodded slowly. "I understand. You don't have to explain anything you're not ready to. For now, we can just focus on the moment." She smiled faintly, a hint of relief in her expression. "Yes, that is wise. Often we forget to live in the moment when we carry burdens too heavy to share." Kai busied himself in the small kitchen area, preparing a simple meal from the limited supplies he had. He could feel her gaze on him, not in a way that made him uncomfortable, but in a way that made him aware of her presence. She did not interrupt, did not speak unnecessarily. She simply observed with quiet interest, her posture relaxed but attentive. When the food was ready, they sat across from each other at the small table. The meal was simple, bread, a few slices of protein, and some local vegetables. But Kai noticed how she ate with careful attention, savoring each bite. She spoke little, yet her presence filled the room with a sense of calm, as if time itself had slowed to accommodate her. "You have a remarkable sense of calm," Kai said finally, breaking the silence. "Even when everything around you is chaos, you remain composed." She looked up, meeting his eyes. Composure is not always easy, but it is necessary. Panic solves nothing, and fear often clouds judgment. "I have learned to observe first, act second." Her words were deliberate, measured, and Kai found himself absorbing them as if they carried lessons he had never considered. Kai nodded slowly. "I think I've learned that too in my own way. Sometimes you just have to act even when it's scary, and sometimes you have to step back and understand before acting. Balance, I guess." She smiled faintly, a hint of admiration in her eyes. "Yes, balance, that is a valuable lesson. You understand more than you realize." The meal continued in companionable silence, broken occasionally by small talk about the colony, the work Kai did, and the strange technology that powered the city. She asked questions about the energy systems, the maintenance routines, and the way humans managed life on the colony. Kai explained patiently, noticing her genuine curiosity and how quickly she grasped even complex concepts. After the meal, Kai suggested she rest. "You've been through a lot today. Sleep will help more than anything else." She nodded. I would like that. Thank you, Kai." He guided her to a small room with a simple bed, blankets neatly folded. She seemed at ease as she settled in, her posture relaxed but graceful. Kai noticed how even her sleep position carried a sense of dignity, as if every movement was deliberate yet effortless. Before leaving the room, Kai paused. "If you need anything, I'll be just outside. Don't hesitate to call for me." She looked up at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude. "I will remember. You have given me more than safety today. You have given me trust." Kai smiled softly. "And you've given me a sense of awe. You're remarkable, you know that." She inclined her head, acknowledging the compliment without vanity. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you simply see what is hidden beneath appearances. Humans are capable of noticing more than we often give ourselves credit for." Kai felt a warmth at her words, a connection he could not fully explain. He left her to rest, quietly closing the door behind him, and sat in the small living area, letting the hum of the colony's distant energy grids fill the silence. He thought about the day, about the explosion, and about the woman who had entered his life so unexpectedly. There was a weight to her presence, a mystery that drew him in, but also a sense of comfort, as if the world had shifted slightly to accommodate her arrival. The hours passed quietly. The colony moved around them, unaware of the small, profound events in Kai's apartment. Repair crews worked tirelessly, drones monitored safety, and citizens resumed their routines. And yet inside the apartment, a subtle bond was forming, a connection born of trust, courage, and shared moments of calm amidst chaos. Late in the evening, Kai heard her soft footsteps approaching. She had risen from the bed, her posture as composed as ever, though he could see the faint signs of fatigue around her eyes. "I could not sleep," she said softly. "The day leaves thoughts lingering. I hope it is not an imposition if I join you." Kai shook his head. "Of course not. Sit." He gestured to the small chairs near the table. "We can talk or just sit quietly, whatever you prefer." She sat, folding her hands in her lap. "I wish to speak. I have questions about this place, about humans, about you." Kai raised an eyebrow, surprised but intrigued. "Me? What do you want to know?" She smiled faintly. "Everything. You saved me. You showed courage and compassion. I wish to understand why humans act as they do, how ordinary people carry such bravery in daily life." "And I wish to understand you." Kai laughed softly. "I'm not extraordinary. I just do what I think is right. I help when I can, that's all." She shook her head gently. "It is more than that. Courage is rare, yes, but compassion, that is rarer still. You have both." "That is why I trust you." Kai felt a lump in his throat. He had never had someone speak to him with such honesty and admiration without expectation. "I thank you. That means more than you know." They spoke for hours, sharing small stories of life on the colony, of work, of hopes and dreams. She spoke sparingly of her own past, careful not to reveal too much, yet he sensed that every word carried depth and experience beyond her apparent age. Kai listened, fascinated, realizing that she had lived in a world far different from his own, yet she approached it with humility and curiosity rather than pride. As the night deepened, Kai noticed her eyes growing heavy. "You should rest." he urged gently. She nodded. Yes. You are right, thank you, Kai, for everything today, for seeing me, for understanding. Kai smiled softly. Good night, then, sleep well. As she returned to the small bedroom, he watched her for a moment, feeling an unexpected sense of connection. He realized that the events of the day had changed something within him. Her presence, her calm courage, and her trust had shown him that heroism was not only in grand gestures, but also in quiet moments of care and understanding. Sitting alone in the living area, Kai thought about the woman who had entered his life so suddenly. He did not yet know her full story, her true identity, or the weight of the responsibilities she carried. But he knew this: he would stand by her not because of titles or status, but because of who she was as a person. Outside, the colony continued its rhythm, the twin suns dipping lower in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the streets. Inside, two lives had intersected in a moment of chaos and courage, setting the stage for a journey neither could have anticipated. And in that quiet connection, Kai felt the first stirrings of something extraordinary, a bond that would test hearts, challenge assumptions, and reveal the best of humanity in the most unexpected of ways. The next morning, Kai woke to the soft glow of twin suns filtering through the small apartment window. The colony outside was already alive with activity, citizens moving with quiet determination, drones gliding through the air, and the distant hum of energy grids blending with the natural sounds of the city. For a moment, he sat quietly, reflecting on the day before. The memory of her face, calm yet radiant amidst chaos, brought an unexplainable warmth to his chest. He glanced at the bedroom door, expecting to see her still resting, but it was slightly ajar. There she was, standing in the doorway, dressed simply, her posture graceful as always. "Good morning," she said softly, her voice carrying that same quiet authority that made him both nervous and comfortable at the same time. "Morning," Kai replied, standing quickly. "Did you sleep well?" "I did," she said, stepping fully into the room. "The quietness of your home, it helped me rest. It is rare to find peace in unfamiliar surroundings." Kai chuckled. "I guess it helps that I live alone. No distractions, no chaos, well, aside from occasional maintenance emergencies." He smiled at the thought. "But I'm glad it helped you." She studied him for a moment, curiosity in her eyes. "You act with courage without thinking of reward. You offer safety without expectation." "Why is that, Kai?" He hesitated. No one had asked him that before. I don't know exactly," he admitted. "I just see someone in need and I do what I can. I guess I like to help. It feels right." Her eyes softened. "That is admirable and rare. Many act out of fear, self-interest, or duty, but you act out of compassion. That is a trait worthy of respect." Kai felt a blush rising to his cheeks. "Thanks, I never thought of it like that." They shared a quiet moment, listening to the hum of the colony outside. It was peaceful, ordinary in a way that Kai had always taken for granted, but now it seemed extraordinary. It was life, uninterrupted by chaos or expectation, and she seemed to notice it as deeply as he did. After a while, she spoke again. "Kai, I feel it is time I explain a little more about myself. Not everything, but enough that you understand why I must remain cautious." Kai nodded, sensing the gravity in her voice. "You don't have to, but I'm listening." "I am not from this world," she began carefully. "I am an heir to a distant planetary monarchy. My life is one of privilege, responsibility, and expectation. I was sent here in secret, to observe life among ordinary humans, to understand what it means to live without titles or protection." Kai blinked. The words sank in slowly. Your royalty?" he asked quietly, trying to absorb the information. Wow, I didn't know, She smiled faintly, a shadow of amusement in her eyes. "It is not a title I use here, no one needs to know. I only wish to see the world as it is, not as it is told to me in my palace or through advisors. I wanted to understand life from the perspective of ordinary humans." Kai nodded slowly. "That makes sense. And I suppose that's why you were careful to keep your identity hidden. So people treat you like anyone else." "Yes," she said. "And yet when you acted to save me yesterday, I realized that courage, kindness, and integrity are universal. They exist not because of titles, but because of choice." Kai smiled. "I guess humans do have some good in them." Her eyes met his, thoughtful yet soft. "You are different, Kai. You do not see me as a title or as something distant. You see me as a person. That is why I trust you." He felt a warmth in his chest. Her words carried weight, and not because of flattery, but because they were sincere. And I trust you too, he admitted quietly. They spent the morning walking through the colony, Leora observing everything with quiet fascination. She asked about daily life, the work people did, and the challenges they faced. Kai explained patiently, sometimes pointing out small details she might otherwise miss. The way energy was conserved in certain districts, how drones assisted citizens with tasks, the subtle social rules that governed daily life. As they walked, she asked more personal questions. Kai, why do you do what you do? Not just today, but every day. Why dedicate yourself to repairing systems, helping people, keeping the colony running? He paused, thinking carefully. I guess because someone has to, and because it matters. People rely on the systems I maintain. If I don't do my job, someone could get hurt or the city could fail. But beyond that, I like seeing things work. I like knowing I've made life a little easier for someone else. That's enough for me. She nodded slowly, absorbing his words. It is rare to find someone who takes responsibility without seeking glory or recognition. Most act to gain or to follow orders, but you act out of understanding, out of care. That is remarkable. Kai felt a small smile tug at his lips. Thanks. I never thought of it like that, but it feels good to hear. For a while, they walked in silence, taking in the sights of the colony. Children played in open courtyards, merchants called to passers-by, and the smell of fresh food mingled with the faint hum of machinery. Leora moved with quiet grace, observing and absorbing without judgment, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and intelligence. At one point, they came across a small park where families were gathering. Leora paused, watching a group of children laugh as they played a game Kai didn't recognize. Humans find joy in simple things, she remarked softly. Even amidst challenges, you create happiness. Kai nodded. Yeah. Life isn't always easy, but people find ways to keep moving, keep smiling. That's part of what makes humans human. She smiled faintly. And perhaps why I am so drawn to you. You carry that human spirit openly, honestly. You remind me that courage and kindness are not only found in rulers or warriors, but in everyday actions. Kai felt his chest tighten slightly. I didn't expect that, but thank you. That means a lot coming from you. As the day passed, they continued their exploration, visiting the quieter parts of the colony. Leora observed the maintenance crews, asked questions about the energy grid, and even attempted small repairs under Kai's guidance. He was impressed by her aptitude. Her hands moved with precision, her mind grasped complex systems quickly, and she asked insightful questions that showed she could understand the colony's workings far faster than most newcomers. Impressive, he remarked. You've got a natural talent for this. I could use someone like you on my team. She laughed softly, a sound that made Kai's chest lift in warmth. I am learning. Perhaps one day I could assist more permanently, but for now, observation is enough. My time here is limited, and I must remain cautious. Kai nodded. I understand. Still, it's good to see you trying. You might surprise yourself. By late afternoon, they returned to his apartment, tired but content. Kai prepared another simple meal, and they sat together at the small table, sharing quiet conversation and laughter. Leora's curiosity was boundless. She asked about his childhood, the first time he worked on machinery, the moments that had shaped him. In return, Kai learned more about her philosophies, her observations of human life, and the way she approached challenges with both logic and empathy. You have a remarkable perspective, Kai said at one point. You see more than most people, yet you don't judge. You just understand, she smiled faintly. It is necessary when one's life is constrained by expectation. Observation and understanding are tools I have learned to use, but you do not need training. You simply act, and yet your impact is greater than many who have experience or authority. Kai felt a surge of humility. I guess that's the difference between intention and expectation. I don't think about impact. I just try to do what's right. Yes, she said softly. And that is why you are extraordinary, Kai. You do not need titles, power, or influence. You have humanity, courage, and empathy, and that is enough to inspire. Kai looked down at his hands, unsure how to respond. Her words were sincere, thoughtful, and carried a weight he had not expected. He was not used to praise, especially from someone with her presence and composure. I thank you, truly. The evening passed quietly. Leora rested, read quietly, and asked Kai to explain small technical details about the colony's systems, which he did patiently. For Kai, the day had been extraordinary, not because of danger or heroism, but because of connection. He realized that heroism was not always about facing explosions or crises. Sometimes, it was about understanding, kindness, and forming bonds that transcended status, titles, or expectations. As night fell, Kai noticed a subtle change in Leora's demeanor. She seemed contemplative, gazing out the small window at the distant lights of the colony. "Kai," she said softly, "I feel a connection here, not just to you but to this place, to life as it is lived without expectation. It is enlightening." Kai felt a warmth in his chest. "I know what you mean. There's something about this place, about these people, ordinary yet extraordinary. You see it too," she nodded slowly. "Yes, and it makes me realize that bravery, kindness, and understanding are not tied to position or power. They are choices. And ordinary humans like you can teach even those born into responsibility the true meaning of courage." Kai smiled, feeling both humility and pride. I never thought of it that way, but I'm glad you do." They sat in silence for a while, the hum of the colony outside filling the quiet. Kai realized that her presence had changed something within him. Her insights, her calm courage, and her trust had revealed a deeper understanding of life, of human connection, and of the quiet heroism that existed in ordinary acts. As she finally prepared to rest, she turned to him. "Kai, thank you for showing me humanity, for showing me courage without expectation. I will carry these lessons with me always." Kai felt a lump in his throat. "And I'll carry the memory of today with me. You've taught me more than I expected." As the lights dimmed and Leora rested, Kai reflected on the day. Her identity as royalty, once hidden, was now partially revealed, yet it did not create distance between them. Instead, it made him respect her even more, for her humility, her curiosity, and her willingness to trust, despite the barriers of status and expectation. Outside, the colony continued its rhythm, a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. Inside, a quiet bond was growing between two lives from very different worlds, a bond built not on titles or power, but on courage, kindness, and understanding. And in that quiet connection, both Kai and Leora sensed the beginning of something extraordinary, a friendship, a trust, and a journey that would test hearts, reveal hidden strengths, and show that humanity's greatest power lay in the choices to care, to act, and to trust. Morning light filtered gently through the small window of Kai's apartment, casting soft streaks across the walls. Outside, the colony was alive with its usual rhythm, citizens moving with quiet purpose, drones gliding through the streets, and the distant hum of energy grids blending with the faint wind. Kai stretched and yawned, feeling the warmth of the day already pressing on him. His mind, however, was occupied with thoughts of Leora. She had been awake for some time, quietly sitting by the window, observing the streets below. Her posture was calm, yet there was a tension in her shoulders Kai hadn't noticed before. As he approached, she turned slightly, offering a faint smile. "Good morning, Kai," she said softly. "Morning," he replied, trying to mask his curiosity about her mood. "You're up early." "I prefer to observe the world as it awakens," she explained. "There is much to notice before the colony becomes fully active." Her gaze swept across the cityscape, noting the smallest details, the flicker of a streetlight, the careful movements of maintenance drones, the interactions of passers-by. Kai watched her, impressed by her attention, but also noticing a quiet weight behind her eyes. "Something on your mind," he said gently. "You look thoughtful." She paused, her hands folded in front of her. "I have received word from my home world. It seems that my presence here can no longer remain secret. My absence has been noticed, and I am required to return to fulfill my duties. There is urgency, though it is not dangerous. It is simply expectation, responsibility." Kai's chest tightened. He had sensed this moment might come, yet hearing it aloud made it real. "You have to go back soon?" "Yes," she said quietly. "I had hoped to remain longer, to learn more, to experience life among humans in their natural state, but duty calls and I cannot ignore it." "It is not perilous, but it is necessary." Kai nodded slowly, trying to steady his emotions. "I understand," he said softly. I just wish you didn't have to go so soon." She looked at him, her gaze soft but firm. "I am grateful for your understanding, Kai. Your presence here has been meaningful. It has reminded me that courage, kindness, and trust exist even beyond the palace walls. You have shown me what humanity truly embodies." Kai felt a warmth in his chest, but also a pang of sadness. "And you've taught me too," he admitted quietly. You've shown me perspective, patience, and the value of seeing the world differently, she nodded. Yes, and yet I must return. I hope that what we have shared here will not be forgotten. For a long moment, neither spoke. The sounds of the colony outside carried on, a gentle reminder that life moved forward, even when hearts were reluctant. Kai realized that this was a test, not of courage in the face of danger, but of courage in the face of change, of responsibility, and of trust. I want to help, Kai said finally. Even if you must return, I can assist you in preparing, making your journey easier. Leora's eyes softened. You offer help without expectation, as always. That is why I trust you, Kai. Your intentions are clear and honest. They spent the morning planning her departure. Kai helped organize her belongings, ensuring her personal items were safely packed and easy to carry. Leora observed quietly, occasionally giving instructions about small details that only someone accustomed to responsibility would notice. Despite the gravity of the situation, there was a calm efficiency to their work, a silent understanding that what they were doing mattered deeply. As they packed, Leora asked questions about life in the colony, what routines she should maintain, what behaviors would seem normal to blend in, and what small gestures would show respect to those she might encounter. Kai answered patiently, impressed by her humility and willingness to learn, even with her royal background. By mid-afternoon, the preparations were complete. Leora paused to look around the apartment, her gaze lingering on the small, simple details, the worn table, the shelves of tools, the modest bed. This place, it has shown me that life can be meaningful without grandeur or power, she said softly. It is a reminder that humanity's strength lies in the choices made, not in titles or privilege. Kai smiled faintly. I'm glad it helped. You've made this place feel important, too, more than just a home for me. She turned to him, her expression gentle but serious. Kai, I must be honest. I do not know when I will return. My duties may require weeks or months away, and the path back is uncertain, yet I hope we will meet again. Kai felt a lump in his throat, but nodded. I'll wait, and I'll do whatever I can to help when you come back. They left the apartment together for the last time in the colony. The streets were alive with the usual rhythm, but every step felt heavier with the knowledge of parting. Citizens moved about, unaware of the quiet significance unfolding among the simple buildings and humming energy lines. Leora walked beside Kai, observing yet quietly introspective. They reached the transport hub, where ships came and went from the colony daily. Leora paused, looking at the sleek vessels ready to take passengers across the stars. I will miss this, she said softly. The simplicity, the honesty, the bravery I have seen here, it is rare and precious. Kai looked at her, seeing a mixture of determination and melancholy in her expression. I'll miss you too, he admitted, but your responsibilities are important, and you'll be doing what you must. She nodded, her eyes reflecting gratitude. Yes. But it does not lessen the bond formed here, nor the lessons learned. I will carry them with me always. A transport ship hummed to life nearby, its engines glowing faintly as it prepared for departure. Leora stepped closer to Kai, her gaze steady. Kai, thank you. For your courage, your kindness, and your trust. You have reminded me that humanity's greatest strength lies not in power or position, but in compassion and choice. That is a lesson I will never forget. Kai swallowed, struggling to find words that matched the weight of the moment. And you've reminded me that even the smallest actions can carry great meaning. That courage is not just in facing danger, but in caring, in trusting, and in acting without expectation. I'll never forget that either. They stood in silence for a moment, the hum of the ship's engines filling the air. Around them, the colony moved on, unaware of the quiet heroism, the trust, and the bonds forming between two lives from different worlds. Finally, Leora stepped onto the transport platform. She turned to Kai one last time, offering a faint, warm smile. Farewell, Kai, until we meet again. Kai watched her as she ascended the platform, her figure bathed in the soft glow of the twin suns. Until we meet again, he repeated quietly, feeling both pride and longing in his chest. The ship lifted gently, gliding into the sky, leaving the colony below. Kai stood in silence, watching until it disappeared into the distance. Though she was gone physically, her presence lingered, a quiet reminder of courage, kindness, and the extraordinary strength found in ordinary humans. As the evening fell, Kai returned to his apartment, feeling both the emptiness of her absence and the warmth of what they had shared. He reflected on the days spent together, the courage displayed, the trust earned, and the bond formed through understanding and empathy. He realized that heroism was not always visible, not always celebrated, but existed in every choice to act with care, courage, and honesty. The next days passed quietly, yet Kai felt a subtle shift within him. Every action, every repair, every interaction with the citizens of the colony carried a new depth. He repaired systems not just with skill, but with a renewed understanding of responsibility and care. He helped others with quiet empathy, aware that small acts could ripple outward in ways unseen but powerful. Leora's lessons remained with him. Her observations, her calm courage, and her willingness to trust had left a mark. He understood now that humanity's strength was not in dominance or power, but in the quiet choices to act bravely, to care deeply, and to trust wisely. Weeks passed, and Kai maintained the colony with renewed purpose. Occasionally, he would glance at the sky, wondering how Leora fared among the stars, fulfilling her duties and carrying the lessons of humanity with her. He imagined her navigating her royal responsibilities with the same grace, intelligence, and humility she had shown on the colony. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the city in hues of orange and violet, Kai stood outside the apartment, looking at the soft glow of the distant lights. The colony thrived, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, yet he felt a quiet emptiness without Leora's presence. And yet, in that emptiness, there was also hope, a certainty that bonds formed through courage, kindness, and trust could transcend distance and circumstance. Kai smiled softly. "Until we meet again," he whispered to the stars, carrying both a promise and a hope. And somewhere among the stars, Leora too looked back at the distant colony, remembering the ordinary human who had shown her the extraordinary strength of humanity. She carried his lessons with her, a reminder that courage, kindness, and trust were not limited by worlds or titles, but existed in every choice, every action, every heart willing to act with care. Weeks had passed since Leora's departure, yet Kai found that her absence was felt in every corner of his life. The colony continued its steady rhythm. Citizens moved with calm purpose, drones glided silently overhead, and the energy grids hummed with dependable precision. But for Kai, the quiet moments often brought memories of her presence. Her curiosity, her calm courage, her ability to see the extraordinary in ordinary life, all of it lingered in his thoughts, a gentle echo that refused to fade. Every morning he would wake and walk through the streets of the colony, noticing details he had never paid attention to before. The careful way the maintenance crews coordinated, the way children laughed and learned through play, the small gestures of kindness exchanged between neighbors. He realized now that Leora had shown him something profound, that heroism and humanity were not measured by grand acts or titles, but by these simple, everyday moments. One morning, Kai returned to the central hub for a routine inspection. The area was quiet, the repairs complete, yet he felt a strange pull toward the spot where he had first found Leora amidst the debris. He knelt for a moment, letting his hand brush the smooth surface of the energy panel. It was ordinary, functional, nothing remarkable on its own, but it held memory, significance, and the spark of connection that had changed both of their lives. As he stood and walked through the hub, he thought of Leora's lessons: observation before action, courage without expectation, kindness as a choice. He smiled softly. Even across the vast distance that separated their worlds, those lessons were alive in him, guiding his actions, shaping his understanding of the world. Days later, a message arrived from her. It was brief, carefully worded, and carried the signature elegance that only Leora possessed. "Kai, the lessons you have shared with me continue to guide me in ways I cannot fully express. Your courage, kindness, and trust are examples I carry with me across worlds and responsibilities. I hope to return when the time allows. Until then, remember that humanity's strength lies in these qualities, in every act of care, and in every choice to do what is right. Leora." Kai read the message carefully, a warm smile spreading across his face. He felt pride, yes, but more than that, he felt connected. Even though she was far away, they were still linked by trust, understanding, and the quiet heroism of ordinary human acts. Weeks turned into months, yet Kai continued his work with renewed purpose. He repaired the energy systems, assisted the citizens, and offered guidance to newcomers with a calm patience he hadn't realized he possessed. Every choice, every action, carried with it the influence of Leora's presence. Her perspective had shaped his understanding of courage, kindness, and humanity. One afternoon, while inspecting a newly installed transport line, Kai noticed a young child struggling with a small robotic assistant. The device had malfunctioned, and the child's frustration was growing. Kai knelt beside them, calmly examining the machinery and explaining the problem in simple terms. With careful guidance, he helped the child fix the device, and the child's face lit up with delight. Kai smiled, feeling the warmth of the moment. In that simple act, he recognized what Leora had taught him, that heroism could be quiet, subtle, and profound. It was in patience, in guidance, in choosing to help without expectation. The child's laughter echoed in the hall, a reminder that ordinary humans were capable of extraordinary acts every day. Months later, an unusual ship arrived at the colony. Its sleek design and faint, royal insignia immediately drew attention from citizens, though most kept their distance, unsure of who might be aboard. Kai felt a jolt in his chest, an anticipation he could not ignore. His heart raced as he approached the docking bay, eyes scanning the ship for any sign of familiarity. The hatch opened, and there she was, Leora. She stepped out with her calm, graceful composure, yet Kai noticed a faint softness in her eyes, a subtle warmth that spoke of the months spent apart and the lessons carried in both directions. She looked around the colony, observing the same details she had before, but her gaze quickly found him. "Kai," she said softly, her voice carrying the same quiet authority and warmth he remembered. "Leora," he replied, moving toward her. His chest felt light yet steady, as though the months of separation had strengthened the bond rather than weakened it. "You're back," she nodded, a gentle smile curving her lips. "Yes, my duties have been fulfilled, at least for now. And I wanted to return to this place, to see the ordinary humans whose courage, kindness, and trust have left a lasting impression on me." Kai felt a warmth he hadn't expected, a quiet joy that filled his chest. I'm glad you came back. I've missed you." "And I you," she said softly. "Even across worlds, your example has remained with me. Your actions, your patience, your courage, they are not forgotten. You have shown me what humanity truly is, Kai, and I hope I can continue to learn from it." They walked together through the colony, revisiting the streets they had explored before. Leora observed the energy grids, the maintenance crews, and the citizens, all with quiet appreciation and subtle analysis. Kai noticed how her presence seemed to blend with the colony, not as royalty, but as someone who valued the ordinary human experience. "You've changed since I was here last," she remarked quietly. "You act with more awareness, more patience." "Your courage has grown, Kai, though it was already remarkable." He laughed softly. "I think I just understand a little more now. The ordinary things, the small choices, they carry weight. You helped me see that." She nodded. "And you've helped me see that courage and kindness are not tied to titles, power, or position. They exist in every human who chooses to act with care. You've reminded me of that truth, Kai." They continued their walk until the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the colony streets. The sky glowed with shades of orange and violet, reflecting off the buildings and the distant mountains. Citizens paused to admire the view, some children pointing excitedly at the colors in the sky. Kai and Leora stopped at a small hill overlooking the colony. From this vantage point, the city seemed alive yet serene, a perfect balance between human activity and the quiet rhythms of life. They stood side by side, watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. "Do you ever wonder," Kai said softly, "what it would be like if humans everywhere lived with this courage and kindness without fear or hesitation?" She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the last light of the suns. "I do, and I believe that it is possible, Kai. Every choice, every action, every act of compassion, these ripple outward. What you have shown me here in your simple humanity can inspire far beyond this colony." Kai smiled, feeling a sense of purpose deeper than he had ever known. "Then I guess we just have to keep doing what's right in every small way we can." "Yes," she agreed softly, "and trust that those small actions carry greater weight than we can imagine. Courage, kindness, trust, they are contagious, Kai. And you have sparked them here in ways visible and invisible." They sat together on the hill, the breeze carrying the faint scent of the nearby gardens and the hum of distant energy grids. Leora leaned slightly toward Kai, a gesture of quiet familiarity and trust. I will not leave again without ensuring that the lessons we have shared continue to resonate. Humanity's greatest power is not in rulers, armies, or technology. It is in hearts that choose to care. Kai nodded, feeling the weight and beauty of her words. And I'll keep showing that every day in every choice I make. As night fell, the colony lights twinkled like stars on the ground, echoing the vast expanse above. Kai realized that heroism was not measured in battles fought or dangers faced, but in the quiet, everyday decisions to act with courage, kindness, and empathy. Leora's return had reminded him that even across worlds, human values were universal, and that ordinary people could inspire extraordinary change. They remained on the hill long into the night, sharing thoughts, reflections, and quiet laughter. Leora's presence no longer felt distant or tentative. It felt like a continuation of the connection that had begun months ago, a bond built on mutual trust, respect, and shared understanding. "Thank you, Kai," Leora said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "For showing me that even ordinary humans can hold extraordinary power, for teaching me courage, kindness, and trust, and for allowing me to return and share this moment with you." Kai smiled softly, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never known. "And thank you, Leora, for reminding me that even the smallest acts can have great meaning. That courage and kindness exist in every heart willing to choose them. You've changed me, just as I hope I've changed you." She nodded, her eyes reflecting both the glow of the colony below and the warmth of the twin suns above. "Yes, we have changed each other, Kai. And perhaps, together, we can show that humanity's greatest strength lies not in power, but in the quiet, everyday acts that define us." They sat side by side, watching the colony lights shimmer against the darkening sky. In that quiet connection, they understood something profound. The ordinary human heart, capable of courage, kindness, and trust, could illuminate worlds, bridge distances, and inspire beyond expectation. And in that shared understanding, they found hope, purpose, and the promise of a future where humanity's best qualities could shine across stars. Kai realized that Leora's presence, her lessons, and her trust had not only changed his understanding of courage and heroism, they had changed him fundamentally. He had learned that the strength of humans was not in their weapons, their technology, or their status, but in their willingness to act with care, to trust, and to embrace the extraordinary in the ordinary. As the twin suns disappeared completely below the horizon, leaving the colony bathed in the gentle glow of artificial lights, Kai felt a profound sense of peace. Leora's return had not only brought joy, but also a renewed belief in humanity's potential. They had both grown, inspired by one another, and had formed a bond that transcended worlds. And in that quiet night, standing on a small hill above the colony, Kai and Leora understood a simple truth. Humanity's greatest heroes were not always those in stories or legends, but those who chose to act with courage, kindness, and trust every single day. And sometimes, the most extraordinary journeys began simply by rushing into the fire to help another.